So I've kind of framed what we're kind of going to talk about, and I've given you some of these questions already, haven't I? So for you to think about.
Yeah. I'll just get them up on my screen again. Just so I've got them.
So Fulford became a partnership school with the Maths Hub back in 2018, when you supported Paula Kelly to become a secondary mastery specialist. And through this, your school became a Teaching for Mastery school.
Yeah.
Over the years, your school has been part of the 5 to 8 continuity work group, the A-level pedagogy work group, the core maths pedagogy work group, and most recently have been in the Sustaining Teaching for Mastery work group this year, which Paula has led, and Securing Foundations in Year 7 work group, which Paula has led as well. What would you say the impact has been on your team and the students in your school as a result of the work that you've done?
Yeah, so I think we as a department think very deeply about our curriculum and the lessons that we deliver. So we obviously have set time throughout the year, department meetings and CPD. The vast majority of that is sort of over to the Maths Hub kind of thing. And I know you mentioned about sort of Adam leading a lot of the sessions, which he does, and Paula leads them. So we have quite deep, rich and regular discussions, I guess, about what we're teaching in the curriculum, how we could enhance it for the students, and sort of anecdotally, me having worked in other schools, those are kinds of discussions that just never really took place. If you had a department meeting or even a department CPD, to be fair, it was a lot more admin based about tests that were coming up and when they were going to do them. So obviously we're quite a big department, as a lot of maths departments tend to be. So a big thing for me is consistency in everything we do really, but consistency in teaching as well. So having the resources from the Maths Hub and having 2 experts in the department who even without the Maths Hub, they've been teaching for many years, they're experienced in loads of different ways, but having that knowledge from the Maths Hub really sort of empowers us as a department to sort of lead maths teaching, which might sound a bit arrogant, I guess, but we get teachers coming in from other schools, from trust schools, things like that, that mention how sort of deep our maths is in lessons, especially at Key Stage 3 as well. And I know you mentioned earlier about it being difficult to quantify the effect, because you can look at test scores, but ultimately, even if test scores have improved, you don't know what effect the Maths Hub resourcing and all the work we do with you guys has had on that, whether it would have been any different if we hadn't. But when I do things like learning walks and lesson visits, and it's true for SLT as well, the teachers are talking about maths in a really excuse me, in a really in-depth way, even the ECTs, which you might not expect from other schools. So I guess it's about sort of us creating that environment where students speak really positively about maths, but do some really good maths in lessons as well, and think a lot deeper about what they're actually doing, which you might not see in other schools where it's more rote or textbook based learning, which I'm sure has its own merits in a very different way. But obviously the way that we run maths, especially at Key Stage 3, is directed by a lot of the stuff that you guys do and a lot of the resources that you give us and the expertise and the research and all of that gets fed through by Paula and Adam, and it really just enhances the department, and it's a big strength of ours, I think. And that's not just me being big-headed and saying that, it's feedback that we get from, like I say, SLT and other visiting heads of maths, that our students really enjoy maths, and also they do it really well. And I think, and like you say, it's difficult to quantify this, but I'm pretty sure that the involvement with the Maths Hub plays a big part in that.
Lovely, thank you. So one of your teachers, Paula, works as an assistant maths hub lead, and then we've got Adam, who is one of our local leaders of maths education, who leads the Year 5 to 8 continuity work group, as well as providing intensive support, which is some school improvement work to some leaders in the region. What are the benefits of supporting colleagues in your what are the benefits of you supporting your colleagues in your department to take part in these outward facing roles?
I mean, obviously you've mentioned Paula and Adam quite a lot, but there's, I mean, everyone in my department, I think, has taken part in something Maths Hub related. You've got Chris and Laura that have done the sustaining, developing, embedding in the last couple of years. We've got our ECTs, Neo and Adam. We've got Sarah joining the core maths group as well. So I think pretty much everyone in the department, excuse me, gets involved in Maths Hub in some kind of way. And I think it just sort of shows that they're valued and they're trusted, and I don't need to go on all of this CPD and feed it back myself. You know, they're learning things, they're often coming back and feeding. It's not just Paula and Adam. Chris and Laura have taken a few department meetings and CPDs as well, feeding back what they've learned from what they've experienced with the Maths Hub. So it gives them the freedom to be able to do that, and we're obviously grateful that they're given all of these opportunities, because it just brings expertise from sort of all over back into our school and back into our department. So we're obviously really grateful for that. And also the sort of variety of CPD that you guys give. I think a lot of the work that Paula and Adam do is geared more towards Key Stage 3, but actually we're seeing Key Stage 5 as an area for improvement for us as a department. I know you've got the core maths group, you've got the developing A-level pedagogy group. I think a few of our staff have been on in the last few years, and that's really useful as well. So it's got that thread from Key Stage 2 really, because you've got the primary stuff all the way up to Key Stage 5, which is really beneficial for us, for individual teachers, but for the students as well, when it kind of siphons down to their lessons and it gets to a student level.
Do you think the support, so Paula has done her role for the last 2 years. Do you think, obviously there was a point when she was thinking about applying for that role, you know, and you as a school supported her by allowing her to reduce her days to 2 days a week. How do you think that has kind of impacted on your department? And equally, the support. Adam misses quite a few days of school, doesn't he, to be able to lead his year 5 to 8, and also to deliver some of the intensive support that he's delivering. What kind of impact is that having, do you think, of you supporting leaders to go out and have these leadership roles?
I think sort of initially the logistics, especially you mentioned Paula going down to 2 days. Obviously, my first thought was great, sounds like a great opportunity. My second thought was, oh, we'll have to get another member of staff to fill your days, and there might be a job share involved, and it's going to be really awkward, which is obviously something to consider. I'm not going to say it sort of brushed by me completely, but once we had, and I say we, sort of me and the deputy head had a discussion about what it would look like, and you know, could we bring someone in, and can we afford to bring another person in? Then it kind of, the benefits like hugely outweigh the negatives, if you like to call it that, of the logistics of having staff out. And there are obviously, there's Paula and Adam do have quite a few periods of cover when they're off doing Maths Hub things. But like I said, the long-term benefits of that, with students thinking more mathematically and more deeply about what they do in lessons, outweighs them missing a lesson. And obviously you can kind of frame it, obviously you work in a school yourself, you can kind of frame it where the lesson you leave is a lesson where they're revising for a test or doing a test anyway. So the impact of them not being there and having a cover teacher doing that is so minimal that the long-term sort of positives outweigh that by quite a large margin. So it's not really something, you know, when they come to me with a yellow slip for cover and they've got a Maths Hub thing, I don't really have to think much about it, because I trust that it's going to be really valuable, it's going to be really useful. And yes, they're missing a lesson or two, but I know that they're, you know, I trust them to make the decision that works right for their class, if they're leaving them a test or something like that. I think the one kind of rule that we have, I guess, as a school is, especially when it comes close to exams, that those kind of things shouldn't impact year 11 and year 13 lessons, because we are so close to the exams. But obviously now we're in a period of the year that's kind of simmered down a little bit, so it's a great opportunity for them to sort of go out there and do whatever they need to do with the Maths Hub, and then of course feed it back to the school, which is the main benefit that we get out of this. So it's not just, yes, Paula, you can apply for this job and it'll be a great opportunity for you. It's a great opportunity for us as well, because of the wealth of knowledge and resources that she brings back into the department and into the school.
And some of that will come from your organisation of that as well. So I think in a lot of places that people may go out, but they and it's not organised systematically for them to then put that into that department. So I think that will be a strength of you as a leader to kind of organise all those elements to make sure that actually that's shared more widely. So what might you say to other leaders who are a little bit tentative to get involved in the Maths Hub, whether that's as a participants on work groups or whether that's as an LLME?
So I think the two major benefits for me, first of all, are if you've got ECTs in your department or teachers that are teaching outside of their specialism, having those kinds of discussions that are fed by the Maths Hub and being able to give them those kinds of resources is really beneficial to everyone, but it's especially beneficial to those teachers. I know that this year we've got 2 ECTs and 1 out of subject teacher, and I think if we weren't involved in the Maths Hub and we didn't have all of this training and all of this access to resources, I think they would have been much worse off for it. And the other reason, I guess, is quite simply it does take a few things off my plate, which is quite nice. We mentioned about department meetings and CPDs, and when they come around, some of them can be an hour or an hour and a half long. And the guidance I'm given by SLT is basically do what you want, which is great in a way, but it's also me thinking in the back of my head, oh, I've got to plan something and it's going to take time to plan, it's going to take time. Whereas if I go to Paula and Adam and say, is there something really good that you've done recently with the Maths Hub? They're more than keen to jump in and say, yeah, let's do some maths. I'll get the resources, I'll get it all planned for you. I'm not saying that all staff would be that generous. They're both very good members of staff. They're great to have in the department, but it has taken that sort of cognitive load off my plate, which is really good.
Okay, right. I did promise that this would be less than 20 minutes, and I'm just going to stop recording.
Okay.